A 90-year-old man collapses in his bathroom at home. Somebody calls an ambulance. They're bringing him in. Blood pressure is 60/30. Weak, thready pulse. His kidneys have shut down, not making any urine. He's still with us, talking to us, fully with it. He was an independent man from home, did everything by himself, shower, cook, clean, all that stuff. Very fit looking man, I must say, especially at 90. He was too unstable for us to do a CT scan. For quite a while, we had to use some very heavy medications to bring his blood pressure up and to perfuse his kidneys and other organs. His skin, hands, feet, thighs, his abdomen was a color which, if you're not medical, this won't make sense to you, but he was mottled, as in the circulation to his peripheral organs, skin, hands, feet, was basically so poor that his skin was starting to turn blue. Very, very pasty white, blue color. I don't know how else to explain it. I left that shift, left him in that state. He was very, very thankful for everything that was going on around him, and there was a whole bunch of people running around trying to do everything for him. In the morning, I've come in and I heard that we did, in fact, get him to a CT scan, and the results were not good. He had a internal iliac artery aneurysm rupture. What that basically means is that he had an artery very near his hip, a very large artery, had over the years deteriorated to a point where the wall of that artery, that blood vessel, was weakened and it was kind of ballooning in a particular spot. And the CT scan showed that it in fact popped, and he was bleeding into his peritoneum, retroperitoneum, yeah, it's a very large area that you can basically bleed out to death in that area. Say if it was in a different area, sometimes particular bleeds happen in areas of your body where we call that you can tamponade that area. So you've bled, you filled a particular compartment, and now that compartment is full. And because that compartment is full, the bleed cannot overcome the pressure of that compartment, and then you basically stop bleeding into that area. So it's kind of like a controlled, we call it a tamponade, which is essentially a medical term to describe that the bleeding has stopped because the bleeding has filled a particular compartment and can't bleed anymore. But when you bleed into a very large area where you can bleed continuously until death, it becomes very, very hard to do anything other than raise this man to theater, to surgery, go in and try and, stop that artery, clamp it off, or whatever the vascular surgeons do. Because this man was 90 years old, it was a very, very high risk surgery. So between him and his family and the surgeons, it was decided that he was not going to go ahead with this surgery. And so he was essentially palliated, or made for comfort measures, which means it's just a matter of time before he passes away. This man was fully with it, very sharp mentally, fully cognizant of his demise, his eventual demise. We moved him out of the resus area into a quiet area in the emergency department, and he asked the nursing staff there to play some music, some classical music on his phone. So he had, lightly playing music, and he was given pain relief, medications to make him comfortable. And it was at that point that it was just a waiting game for him to pass away. There was nothing anybody could do. Taking him to theater will probably be futile because he's a 90-year-old man, and that type of surgery will be very invasive and risky. He would have to be, it's hard because a lot of people in his age take blood thinners to prevent clotting in various different spots, brain, heart, lung. So when you do in fact have a bleed, not only are you bleeding, but you also have this agent within you to stop clotting, and so you can't even clot the bleed that you have. And if you go into surgery, you're making more cuts into somebody's body, which again makes bleeding very, very difficult to control, and then you can basically bleed to death from the actual disease that he has, and also from the surgical incisions required to actually go in and help him. So he was this man, 90-year-old man, sitting there and just waiting to die, playing with this classical music playing along, and him being very thankful for all the care that the nursing team and the medical team have done. And it was a very, very powerful moment to hear somebody in a position like that. I mean, usually most deaths that you see in the hospital, people are generally, how should I say it, old people end up not being conscious enough to understand what's happening, you know, but this man was fully with it. It was a powerful moment. Powerful moment. I mean, I don't know this man. It's the first time I've ever met him, but the vibe that I got from him, he was a good man. And the way he was thankful for everything, he wasn't anxious. He wasn't worried. He was fully accepting of his fate. And that acceptance, that calmness about him, man, that's some powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff. You would understand that if he was very panicky and anxious and worried and afraid and all that stuff, you know, it would be understandable, but this man wasn't. It's almost like he was welcoming it. Yeah. These are the kind of stories that stay with you for a long time, simmering in the back of your mind, and these moments pop up in your mind. Spontaneously, you know, just boom. You just start thinking about stories that you've come across like this. And you guys always ask me, Ivan, you know, what drives you? What makes you keep coming back? Man, when you have a library of these thoughts in your mind and you continuously have new ones pop up in your mind, how can you not think about your own demise, your own last breath, life after death, God, religion, which religion, that religion, the universe. All of a sudden you zoom out real quick and you sit there and you're like, damn, what the hell am I doing? And then you suddenly zoom back in and all you see is a barbell and some weights around in that split second, and you're like, what am I doing? But I'm happy, I'm grateful, and I don't need much more. I was at work today, you know, with this thought in my mind. My missus sends me a picture. She's going shopping with the kids. And, you know, she sends me a picture. She often does this when I'm at work. It's the ultimate pickup, you know. Sends me a picture of my 2 kids. There's 3 kids, but one's at school. The 2 younger ones, one's, you know, 7-month-old. The other one's in the trolley in the shopping trolley. I just wrote back to her and I said, I'm so happy. I'm so freaking happy. There's nothing else I need or want. It's a beautiful thing. I am so happy. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one.